Are you building a business, feeling the stress of all the pressures on you, and hungry to learn from other entrepreneurs? Then you're in the right place. You're listening to But First Principles, where we highlight the principles you need to win both at work and at life. Let's dive in. All right, so I'm joined today with Greg Green from Davison Green Services. That's not construction, that's services, which we were just chatting about a little bit. Really cool to talk to you, because of the way that your company has grown and, a lot of leadership work you've done. So is it fair if I just ask you, like, can you just tell the kind of a nutshell of the story, the business? It's like 40 years old, something like that.
Yeah, yeah. So our company was founded by my dad. He started out just, one guy in a truck and was doing electrical work and slowly, built the company into an electrical construction business.
And when you
That
say
the
electrical construction, you mean that working with new construction sites, installing electrical
Yeah,
primarily? Yeah. Okay.
yep.
Just for
So
clarity. Yeah. Cool.
yeah, so we were doing this, bid work, planned work, and that was really the bread and butter of the company. And the actual name of the company when it was first started was GG Green and Son. And then my dad joined with a gentleman named Ed Davis, and then they called it Davison Green. And
Strong name, good name, coming
yeah,
from a Colin
so
Davis.
so it was that was the name of the company, and my dad ended up buying Mr. Davis out.
Mhm.
Um, as I was going through school, I hated school.
Yeah.
Wasn't a good student. I had too much energy, and I would much rather be, outside and working on things and building things. And so I knew probably from the age of 14, 15 years old that that I was gonna be a tradesman. And so we had an apprenticeship program in school, and as soon as we had an opportunity to get into it, I hopped into it. And I knew ever since I was a kid that I wanted to be in the trades. I also knew that I wanted to own my own business. And the path that I picked was to work with my dad. And so I worked with my dad from, the late 90s, worked my way every aspect of the company,
Nice.
crawled in crawl spaces and dug ditches and worked in hot attics. I learned every aspect. I became an electrician, a journeyman electrician, a master electrician. Um, and then I became a project manager for my dad for about 15 years. And I managed projects, learned work in progress. 2019, um, I just couldn't help but, want more. I wanted more than what I was doing. And we had some management in place at the time that, really wasn't a good fit for the company. And I just, went home and told myself that, I wanted more for myself and I wanted, to achieve my goals. And I made a pact with myself that, that I was going to show up after that this New Year's in particular. And I came in and I just, started to, take action and started to take charge. And the people that were in management and in charge at the time, within 1 year of me stepping up and calling out, things that weren't right,
Hmm.
they started to quit one by one. And I had uh,
Wow.
I had over $8 million that I was $8 million of work in progress. And the guy that I had hired to run it called me while I was on my family vacation and quit, gave me 2 weeks notice. I had to figure out how in 2 weeks to figure out how to manage $8 million worth of work in progress. I started to really understand about, getting the right people in the right seats. I
Yeah.
started to build a leadership team that worked for me. Um, And I was still working towards my goal of buying the company from my dad. And in all the time that I was building and growing this new leadership team, I also had a vision to start a home service business under the corporate umbrella. And so all this while I was launching an HVAC division. I was launching a plumbing division. I was launching a handyman division, and and then this past year, finally had the opportunity to buy the business. The CEO and the sole shareholder of the company.
Okay.
We are projected to do about $40 million this year, and we've got
40
about
million.
200 employees. And
Not bad. Uh-oh. Looks like we have a little bit of lag here. Hey, can you hear me? Greg, can you hear me?
yeah,
Okay, good. Sorry, thought I lost you for a second.
no, no problem.
Wi-Fi or whatever. Yeah. So 40 million. And what did you start at 2019?
2019, we were doing about 17 million.
Yeah. So more than doubled.
Yep.
Not bad. About 5 years.
Yeah, it's come with its fair share of growing pains.
I bet. Well, there's so many cool things about that story, up to this point, right? I'm just curious, your dad, is he still working with the company? Did he retire?
No, he's fully retired. I mean, quite
Okay.
honestly, in 2019 when I was running the company, he had pretty much, semi-retired
Yeah.
and got out of the business. So I've pretty much been running the business, and then I finally had an opportunity to buy the company.
Right. And did he, you know, did he, and this, I wanted to ask this delicately, right? Because, obviously father
Sure.
son, right? You gotta be pretty close to your dad to
Yeah.
work with him, work for him, then also, buy the company from him, and everything turn out amicably, right?
Yeah.
So do you feel like he really trusted you with that leadership? And then, and I don't want to get too much into, too many soft spots,
I
but
think that
yeah,
uh, I think that family businesses are super dynamic.
yeah,
And I think that there's even though your kids might be qualified, you seeing them for their value and what their worth is, and then also you stepping back. I think it's a very tough thing
yeah,
to hand over a
yeah,
baton.
yeah, exactly.
I think that we worked well together. I think that he kind of allowed me to work in the company and be a manager for him for a long time.
Mhm.
So yeah.
Yeah. Um, and when you kind of took the reins, really started exercising leadership and folks started, uh, quitting, did he try to and again, I want to be very respectful of the
Sure.
whole situation, but did he try to step in, or was he pretty good about letting the chips fall and see what you did with it?
Yeah, I think I was super blessed because
Yeah.
as a lot of these major changes were happening,
Mhm.
um, I also was growing the top and bottom line.
Okay.
So
Okay. So he saw the performance. He saw that. Yeah.
although, we were having these major cultural changes,
Hmm.
we were having an enormous amount of performance that had never been done. So
Yeah.
I think that gave him a lot of confidence that, that we had it under control.
Beautiful.
So to his credit, he really did. I mean, give me an enormous amount of reign. I mean, starting three new divisions and
Yeah. It's no
um,
small thing. Like a lot of trust involved in that.
yeah, yep.
So, Yeah, I mean, even like there's a change in strategic direction with that as well. Expansion of strategic direction, if nothing else. I mean, which is almost kind of a myth. You really do change the identity of something when you expand it like that. Um,
Yeah.
but so kudos and respect to your dad for letting that happen, and also helping you to fostering that growth in you, which is something I'm curious if there is you were talking about struggling in school, and I know tons of guys who struggled in school but are real kind of geniuses in one way or another, and sometimes in business, right? And it sounds like you've got a real mind for business, and did you have a conscious like ambition to really grow the business and become you know grow an amazing company early on, or was that kind of growing with time, or like how did that sort of ambition for yourself and even your personal development outside of school, you
Yeah.
know what I mean?
Yeah. I think that I have, grown throughout the years from, being a tradesman. And then I think there was actually a pretty big turning point in my life, which was we were a part of building the Dominion Tower downtown. So that big high rise that's downtown, we
Yep.
bid that job, and we're on that job. And as a part of that job, we were invited by an electrical contractor to join a peer group. And in this peer group, we were like the smallest contractor
Hmm.
in this group. And so I was able to meet a couple of these other guys and just start to see, some of the success that they were having and that they had achieved. And I started learning a lot from them, and
Yeah.
I started to be able to see myself, way differently than a tradesman. I started to be able to see myself, as a business owner, and
Yeah,
to
that's
be
cool.
able to, to run and operate, a wildly successful company. And
Yeah, that's so cool.
so
Yeah.
it was really cool to be able to learn from those guys. And
Yeah.
I started reading a ton of books,
Yep.
and I started learning, rapidly from other people, learning, different skills. I bought an HVAC company. I didn't know what the heck I was doing.
Yeah.
Had no idea how to run an HVAC business.
I mean, heck, that's just
Um,
construction, right? It's no big
yeah,
deal.
yeah,
Yeah.
and so a lot of a lot of growing pains.
Yeah. No, that's cool. That's really cool. So, and especially, like coaching I focus both on the growth of the business and the growth of the owner, like personal growth of the owner. Because like what you're saying, going from a tradesman to a business owner, there's an identity shift, right?
A little different skill set.
Yeah, and it's a whole different skill set, right? Exactly.
Yeah.
And um just a different way of thinking, and then that like sort of mastermind peer group, just that spurring each other on and seeing what they're doing and asking questions and problem solving, and and finding some role models. All of that's you know it doesn't surprise me that took place in your life, because that's I would even say it's pretty much necessary for that to happen. Every now and then you have like the savant, the genius who just figures it out on his own, but those guys are one in a million. For most of us mere mortals, we really have to learn from others, and
Yeah, absolutely.
work hard,
Yeah,
and right.
yeah.
um so yeah,
Well, the best way to learn is from somebody who's already been there and done it, right?
that's
I
the whole
like to
idea. I
say
mean, this is why we're doing this podcast, right?
we've steal everything that we've learned, right? So
Standing on the shoulders of giants, exactly. Yeah, I mean, the best way, like there's an author, Cameron Harold, who built a big actually junk hauling business, who says, yeah, I do all kinds of R&D, not research and development, rip off and duplicate. Right. So,
yep,
but yeah, no, always
yeah,
learning is the idea, really. Right. Um,
yeah.
so
And I think
actually,
we're
yeah,
good. No, we're just so blessed in this time to be able to have access to, peer groups and podcasts. And I mean, there's so many opportunities to
yeah,
learn now and to learn quickly the skills that you need, which was way different than, when my dad came through.
yeah, absolutely. So, shifting just a little bit, I also think it's impressive the leadership that you took, and you said forming a leadership team. And that's something to be proud of. What do you think is your real skill set that, something you're proud of, maybe other people know you for in terms of leadership in the company? What do you think you do really well?
Um, I think that I have a a special knack for identifying um, core values in people pretty quickly.
Hmm.
And I think that like by nature, I'm pretty humble, maybe to a fault. Um, and I tend to align with people that you know have some of these good values that we've been able to recognize, and and I start to identify these core values in people. And also a learned trait. I read a great book called The Idea Team Player,
Yeah.
and they talk
Patrick
about
Lencioni is one of my favorite. Patrick Lencioni is the author. I love his stuff is
he's
fantastic.
awesome.
So
He's
yeah,
such a brilliant guy.
yeah, yeah.
But I read that book, and I started learning that these traits of being humble, hungry, and smart, and it stuck with me. And then I started evaluating the people that were on my team, and like I quickly realized that my job and my skill was to figure out like who the people on our team that had these traits, and then if they were maybe missing something, could I coach them up? And
Mhm.
so really, like the major thing that I do in the company is identify the people that have these core values, and then what can I do to bring out the best in them and help coach them up, and also recognize these values.
Mhm. Yeah, no, I mean, at the end of the day, business runs with people. It's people who run business, right?
Yeah.
And the most important work that a leader can do is people work, right?
Hmm.
Putting the right people in the right seats, identifying the values, identifying alignment with culture, all those things, right? So that it makes a lot of sense. Plus, your experience of project management, you understand the practicalities of what the moving parts that have to be in place, but that it's really people who drive those projects forward and the completion of things on time, at quality, within
Yeah.
budget, that kind of thing. So,
Yeah. And I think one of the biggest, challenges that we have right now as we are continuing to grow and expand
mhm.
is, in the history of the company, we always raised up talent and we could see the work that they were doing. They were guys that would get to work early and they would excel in their trade. And then we're like, oh, you excelled in your trade. We're going to make you a manager.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And and then it's like, well, they were never given any management skills.
Doesn't
They
necessarily
did good at
translate.
their
Yeah.
job, and then all of a sudden we threw them in these management positions.
Yep.
Or we would hire managers, from the outside and bring them in. And then it's like, we had done a pretty dang good job of, teaching, service techs and construction workers how to do their job. But then we had these managers that were completely untrained. And so we have this huge initiative to start to build leaders and to
Mhm.
send them to leadership training, and to start, hey, have you read The Idea Team Player?
Yeah.
Do you know who Jocko Willink is? Like,
Right.
read these books. And
Right.
and started to really focus on the leadership and started to give those guys training to be leaders,
Yep.
which has been pretty rewarding.
That's awesome. Yeah, no, I mean, obviously I believe in that stuff. Like that's why I became a coach, in so many words. Is just the potential in people is tremendous, but it needs to be fostered. Generally, again, there's the outlier 1 in a million person who figures it out on their own, but generally we need to really foster and support, people for them to really, unleash their potential, but it's tremendous when you do.
Yeah.
And I guess again, like you're pretty ambitious. You have, big goals for the future. And you mentioned a little bit of the challenges, like raising up leaders. I guess I want to talk about like what your plans are for the future, especially because we're coming towards the end of our time.
Sure.
But before I get there, how about, over the years, over the last 40 years, you've seen the company grow, and you've gone through, starting from a guy in a truck with your dad, right? This growth. What were some of the challenges that have prepared you for, the growth that's happening now? What are some of the moments that were really tough? And maybe you could just, even if you just want to choose one moment, you can choose a couple if you want, but like, what
Yeah,
were some
sure.
moments that were really
Well,
tough?
so
Yeah.
my dad, he was he has an amazing story. He grew up in a trailer with six
Hmm.
sisters. He joined the Marine Corps when he was like 17 years old.
Yeah.
He's just this gritty guy that came from nothing that, built this business. Um, and he got to a certain point and like to our, conversation, the resources that were available in the 80s and the 90s are way, way different than they are now.
Yeah.
And the evolution of our company, like when I started to become the president of the company, then I started having access to the financials, and I started realizing that even though my dad was a great success and had a great life that he had built for himself, there was so much opportunity. We were doing one scope of work, which was electrical contracting. And when I started the company, or when I started to run the company, all of a sudden we had seven different divisions like overnight. And then I'm trying to figure out like where are we making money and where are we losing
Yeah.
money?
Right. No, 100%. You
And
got to track that. That's important. Right.
and then, we're having like, I mean, it wasn't perfect. I mean, we were having some wild swings in, revenue and net earnings. And so I was like, I got to figure out how I can break out these divisions and, how I can figure out where am I winning and where am I losing. And, really honestly, the company was never built to know like what are gross profits, what are net profit goals. And, we
Yeah.
were really just this small company
Yeah.
that, was going through, when I was able to step up and start adding the financial piece to it of, okay, we're focused on gross profits. We're focused on, net profits. We're focused on where are we winning, where are we losing? And then we were able to start identifying, okay, well, on this sector of work, we're earning a 20% GP, and on this sector of work, we're earning a 50% GP. And it's like, so you start to make these observations, and, it's one thing to see them, but then to get your accounting staff like on board with you. We started buying, a CRM, a customer management tool to be able to figure out how to serve our customers better. We started adding accounting software, and we had these major things that were happening that, I mean, and it was all happening at one time. So I think like one of the biggest challenges was trying to figure out, where we were winning and where we were losing. And
Nice.
I hired a CFO, and really tried to start getting my financial team built, and that was huge.
Yeah. Man, that is so good because one of the things, there's actually a client of mine right now, and not revealing too much, don't want to disclose too much that's private, but he's just starting to get a handle on his numbers, just like what you're describing. He's been seeing a lot of growth, but like, where are we winning, where are we losing? And I have kind of a framework for business owners to think through, like, what is your business model, and then within the business model, like, what are your services, and what's the profit for each of those services,
Yeah.
because that's exactly, where do we put energy, and where, like, what's actually worth our time, what's actually worth our effort, where can we realize efficiencies, that sort of thing. And you don't really know that until you've crunched the numbers, you've created some KPIs, and that kind of thing. And that's a lot of small business owners don't do it, first of all because they don't have the awareness of the fact that they can even do that. They don't have the education how to do it. But then when you get to it, it's overwhelming, right? Because I asked you what
Sure.
was a tough moment. So like you're saying you had all these things happening. So I would describe that, or is this accurate to describe that as overwhelming, just so much going on and trying to get a handle of it? When you describe a challenge, the challenge was that, man, this is just so much. Is
Yeah.
that accurate?
Yeah, it was a lot. And like I said, and we just kind of continue to go back to it, but it was all about the right people in the right seat. And so like what I would
And
advise anybody that might be listening to this podcast
yeah,
is when you're in growth mode, figure out who your number two is going to be, like right out of the gate. Like figure out who's going to have your back before you even start. And then number two, like really get on your numbers. Like figure out if you don't have somebody that's in your company that can help you to see clearly what's happening with your numbers, then hire somebody outside. And honestly, if you get the right person, I mean, it doesn't matter what you pay them, they're going to be worth their weight in gold to
yeah,
know like where you're at. And you have
yeah,
that knowledge, and then you can really start to make it work for good.
yeah. Shout out to the fractional CFOs out there who
That's
do
right. Yeah.
great work in companies. Yeah. Um, okay, so just you got a handle on the numbers. And when was that period? Was that like 2020-ish? Was that
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, like all of this stuff was happening 2019. Then we hit COVID.
yeah, well, that's another
Um,
whole
right?
I'm
We
sure
were
we could
so
talk all day about
fearful
that, right?
of what was happening. We had, this touchless service that we're trying to figure out. We were fearful. All these jobs that we had bid that, were backlogged for the company,
100%.
were being put on hold, and, we didn't know if we're going to have to shut the company down. I mean, it was a wild time, but we thrived through it, and I think we came out, on the backside stronger and a little better for it.
It's awesome. So, okay. What's next? What's coming up? What do you want to drive the company towards now?
Right. Well, the big thing that we're working on right now is I don't know if you are familiar with Traction, Gino
Yeah,
Wickman.
yeah.
Yeah.
Actually,
Okay.
my mentor worked with Gino Wickman in some of the development of EOS, and very familiar with it. Yeah.
Yeah. So my first initiative when I bought the company was to build my leadership team.
Yep.
And I am blessed because I got a great leadership team. But we're rolling out EOS, and we, again, are, really, really excited about, our core values and about how we can, get people in the right seats. And so we're super excited about EOS. We're super excited about, our core values and our vision of growing and expanding. One of the cool things that I'm excited about is, as we've, you know, been able to have success, we've been able to start having, more strategic giving. And so a big piece of our company is, our company was really founded on three pillars, and it's our employees, our customers, and the community. And so, with the success that we've had, we've been able to start tying, net profits to strategic giving. We're a huge supporter of the Special Olympics
Cool.
and the
Do you know Dave
doorways.
Thomason? Oh, well, yeah. Anyway,
Yeah.
sorry. That's a very
And
familiar. He's here in Richmond, just great guy. But continue.
uh-huh. And so it's fun to be able to be building and growing and having success and being able to give back. And then not only are we giving, with our resources, but we also have our employees that are, volunteering and helping set up, polar plunges and going to the doorways and, preparing meals and things like that. And so, like out of everything that we do, our goal is to improve lives. And so to be able to take this and help our employees and help the community, and being strategic about it is really cool. And that's one of the big things that we're super excited about.
That's great. Yeah. Um, and that's, I mean, that's all culture and, like I probably said it on, anyone who's listening to this podcast regularly at all. I probably said this before, but there's two foundational rules in business. That's the way I like to say it. The first rule is that uh, you have to make an impact. You have to see it as a positive change in people's lives, as improving quality of life. Your business doesn't just sell widgets or like electrical wires and lights turning on, but like changes people's lives. There's a real benefit for the better. And then with profits and in secondary ways, you can create good in the community, and that's really what business is about. But the second rule of business is that you got to make a profit doing it,
Yeah.
because otherwise you're just a charity, and if you're just making a profit, you're a scam, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
when you can combine both of those, it's awesome, because that's, I mean, that's
Oh,
just it. It's an engine for good, really.
yeah. Yeah. I mean, your business can be a vehicle for your life. And the more success that you have, the greater that your impact can be for your employees and for the community and for your customers.
Yeah.
It's not cheap to provide five-star service. The marketing that we do to get our customers, the money that we spend for vehicles and material stock and tools to have best-in-class training. I mean, it costs a lot of money to invest into, being able to provide five-star service. But, that's our goal, is to, when we serve our customers, we want them to have a five-star, service. We want to come out and care about their house more than they care about it. We want to wear boot
Yeah.
protectors. We want to, provide them multiple estimates, do thorough evaluations. We want to warranty our work and everything that we do. And so you have to be profitable in order to be able to provide those services.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, yes. Um, so, before we got on the podcast, you and I were chatting, and you talked about like maybe a strategic change or expansion. Do you want to mention that here, or you keep it
I mean,
under
basically,
wraps?
basically the direction of the company, is that we are moving away from, some of the plan and spec work that, you had to be the lowest number to get the job. And we're
Like
moving
bidding and
more
yeah.
into relational, relational work. We love service work. We love reactionary service. We love working with the end user. We do a great job for them. They see the value. We've got almost 2,000 five-star reviews, and that's a testament to what the community thinks of our work. And so it's our goal just to continue to drive that, and I'm excited for it.
That's awesome. Yeah, so basically breaking into some new markets, you called it reactionary services. Response, is that responses to emergencies, responses to like
Yeah,
fire, flood,
absolutely.
that kind of stuff?
Yeah, your electrical panels burn up, your
Yeah.
HVAC is not working, you're cold, or maybe you've got, busted, water pipes. Like I said, our goal is to improve lives, and, being able to show up and make lives more comfortable by fixing those issues quickly and making people comfortable. I mean, that's what makes us thrive.
Awesome. Cool. Well, Greg, I really enjoyed this conversation. It's too short, but for the sake of the podcast, we'll wrap up there. Last question really is kind of double question, actually. Where can people find you, and who would you like to connect with? Who would you like to find you?
Right. Well, um, anybody can reach me personally at greg@dgelectrical.com.
Mhm.
So,
Like
obviously, if you
Davis
have any
Green
questions for me,
Electrical, like Davis
yeah,
Green
Greg
Electrical
at
DG.
dgelectrical.com, Greg at
Awesome.
dgelectrical.com.
Perfect.
And then you know, if you're an entrepreneur, if you have a business and have any, you know, questions that, you know, that may have come out of this podcast, if you are in need of electrical, plumbing, heating and air, handyman services, we got you covered. Yeah, we're excited to
Cool.
be here, and thank you so much.
So send you an email. You know, you're very responsive. I know that. And
Yeah, we've got a full-fledged call center. You know, so if you know, search for us on Google, we'll pop right up, and the number, you know, will take you to our call center. We can book a call and get you on the books.
well, fantastic. So I really appreciate your time, and you know, we'll see you on the other side.
Hey, thanks, Colin.
Yeah, thanks, Greg.